Imagine this. It's 6 a.m. and your alarm blares. You get out of bed, exhausted but determined. You grab your books, head to school, and the cycle begins. 14 hours of classes, tests, and endless studying. Finally, at 10 p.m., you return home, but you're too tired to even look at your homework. Is this the reality you want for your children? This isn't just a bad dream for millions of students in China. This is their daily reality. Students are being pushed to their limits, with grueling schedules that feel more like a prison sentence than an education. And for what? To enter a job market that's already overcrowded and filled with uncertainty? Today, we're diving into China's educational crisis, the insane pressures, the endless hours, and the bleak future that so many students are facing. But before we dive into today's topic, please hit that subscribe button to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us, and it's greatly appreciated. The term 611 has gained attention in recent years, and not for any positive reasons. It's a code that represents the brutal reality many Chinese students are subjected to, studying from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., a schedule so exhausting that students describe it as a kind of living nightmare. This term has become synonymous with an education system that places intense pressure on students, often to the point of breaking them mentally and physically. The very fabric of this system is built around a singular idea, the idea of success, and how to achieve it at all costs. But is this success real, or is it just a hollow pursuit? One social media user abroad even started an online survey to expose what's happening. Over 1,800 schools have been identified as enforcing brutal study hours, and what's most disturbing is that some of these schools operate under what's being called the 611 model. This model, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., has become a widespread schedule for countless students. In fact, many of these schools have winter breaks that last no longer than 10 days, some barely offering even a week's break. Imagine just 2 days off per month in a country where students are constantly preparing for exams. But it's not just about the long hours. They are relentless. During holidays, such as the Chinese New Year, most schools continue with their routines, with no respite for the students who have been preparing for months. In fact, some schools even open before students have had enough time to finish their holiday assignments. There's no break, no chance to recharge, just the unyielding pressure of the system. Students don't have a chance to breathe. This crushing routine isn't just confined to a few schools. It's pervasive across much of China's educational landscape. A graduate from an elite high school in Beijing, for example, recalled the exhausting schedule from 6:50 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. on weekdays. No weekends to recover, either. On Saturdays, the schedule is just as intense, with classes running until late afternoon. Sunday isn't much of a break, either. Students are back at school by 10 a.m., with classes running through to the evening. The most shocking part? These students get just 16 hours of rest each week, far less than what's considered healthy or necessary for a young person to recharge. In other words, these students live in a constant state of exhaustion, with little time to focus on anything outside of their studies. A week of school for them is one long blur of lessons, tests, and stress. And many students are not even allowed the basic comfort of being at home. They live in dormitories, where they are isolated from their families and friends. For many of these students, school becomes their entire life, and their experiences outside of the classroom are completely limited. Some students have even compared their schools to prisons, given the strict, no-escape conditions. The worst part? It's not just the endless study hours. They're also expected to be physically present and engaged in every single class, even when they're sick. In one extreme case, a student from another school described how a classmate's fever reached 40 degrees Celsius, but the student wasn't allowed to take a day off or leave campus for treatment. It wasn't until their condition became critical that the school allowed them to go to the hospital. This isn't an isolated incident. There are countless stories like this from across the country, with students being denied even basic care and rest when they need it the most. But what do the parents think about this system? They're just as frustrated as the students. One mother from Chongqing shared her frustration about how her child's day begins at 7:20 a.m. and doesn't end until 9:40 p.m. That's 14 hours of school per day. For comparison, an adult worker typically works for 8 hours a day. But these students are expected to work far harder, with little to no time for themselves. And this isn't a problem confined to just 1 or 2 cities. Chongqing has become infamous as one of the most intense cities when it comes to educational pressure. Parents, teachers, and even the students themselves are feeling this strain. A longtime educator, Mr. Chun from Ceylon, explained that these conditions have persisted for years, and despite reforms, the pressure continues to mount. It's an exhausting cycle that never seems to let up. Even kindergarten teachers, some of the most overworked members of the educational system, are feeling the strain as the pressure trickles down to even the youngest children. It's not just the students who are affected. Teachers are under immense pressure as well. A teacher named Mr. Chun from Xiamen shared how the financial burden of private tutoring has become unaffordable for many middle-class families. This additional strain adds to the already overwhelming workload of students. For families in lower income brackets, this becomes even more problematic. They can't afford to pay for these private tutoring sessions, and their children fall behind, contributing to a growing divide between those who can afford extra help and those who cannot. The cost of tutoring has skyrocketed, with one-on-one sessions costing up to 1,000 yuan for just 90 minutes of instruction. Families are being forced into this situation, scrambling to afford these sessions in order to ensure their children don't fall behind. But as one parent put it, this trophy education is breaking them financially, emotionally, and mentally. The stakes are high, but the rewards are unclear, as success in exams no longer guarantees a stable future. At the heart of this broken system is the Gaokao, China's fiercely competitive national university entrance exam. It's the final hurdle that every student must face. The exam has become a symbol of success, the ultimate benchmark for students to prove their worth. But what happens after that exam? What happens when students spend their entire lives preparing for this one moment, only to face an uncertain future afterward? The truth is, the Gaokao no longer holds the same promise it once did. Over the years, the unemployment rate for university graduates in China has skyrocketed, leaving many students disillusioned and underemployed. The dreams of a successful, stable life promised by this education system have faded for many young people, as the competition for jobs becomes fiercer and opportunities become more limited. The numbers tell the story. In 2024, 3.88 million students applied for China's postgraduate entrance exam, a 500,000 decline from the previous year. But what's even more concerning is the level of difficulty in these exams, which is rapidly increasing. Universities are raising the bar, making it even harder for students to stand out. In a system already burdened with pressure, the increased difficulty level only adds to the stress students face. And what's the end goal? To secure a job in a market where the very degrees students worked so hard to earn are being devalued? Professor Sebastian Chun, a respected academic, has noted the increasing competition and societal pressures that parents and students face in China. He suggests that, for many families, the education system has become a treadmill, a way to prove that their children can survive, even if they end up exhausted, frustrated, and unfulfilled. But in a rapidly changing economy, this model is beginning to falter. Students may have spent years preparing for exams and acquiring degrees, but the reality of the job market doesn't match up with the promises made by the education system. There's a need for change, and it starts with a shift in what education is meant to achieve. The pressure to score well on the Gaokao and get into a prestigious university must be balanced with the realities of an evolving world. Perhaps it's time to rethink what success truly means in the 21st century. Education should foster curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking, not just rote memorization for exams. It should allow students to explore their passions, develop practical skills, and prepare for the complexities of the modern world. The future requires adaptable individuals who can navigate uncertainty, not overworked, tired, and mentally exhausted students who feel like failures the moment they step out of the classroom. The question remains, is this really the future we want for our children? Or will China's education system break its students before they even have a chance to start their lives? Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more in-depth discussions about the issues shaping our world. Stay curious.